Hello, everyone. I am Michael DeVellis, and this is the Powder Group Conversations. Today, our guest is Charlie Wan. We'll be discussing the topic of self reinvention. Before we get started, though, as always, I want to make sure I thank all of our incredible sponsors who make all of our programming at the Powder Group so possible for all of our community. So thank you to Omnia, thank you to Beekman 1802, Cinema Secrets, Muse Beauty Pro, Skindinavia, and Senna Cosmetics. Thank you for sponsoring the Powder Group Conversation Series for the entire year of 2021 and so many more of our programs this year. So thank you, sponsors. Welcome, Charlie. Hello, my friend.
Hi, Michael.
I'm
Hi,
excited to
everyone.
have you.
I'm excited too.
I have to tell you, every time we engage, I'm not using the word because it's the topic of the discussion, but I feel reinvigorated. I feel revived. I feel reinvented in a lot of ways. I give thought to things that I didn't think about before. Even if we're having a casual conversation, you just have this energy of permission that you grant people, I think, that you engage with to take on what they need to take on, to give
Yeah.
themselves permission to explore and to think differently. I mentioned briefly before that you were part of the Artist Summit in 2015. You did a session there called "Finding Your Everest," which is about finding your thing that you're wanting to go to next. It was amazing, absolutely amazing. I feel like you are, I said this before, you're the king of reinvention. You have been a photographer, a music producer. I have to share this. You did morning parties at Burning Man. Like you DJed the morning parties at Burning Man. You are a man of so many worlds and talents. I want to ask you a question before we get started with some other specifics about reinvention. What does
Yeah.
reinvention mean to Charlie Wan?
Um, I think it's just a natural progression on your different phases in life, and I think that it's almost like you buy your house, right? You never stick with your very first starter home. Right, you kind of continue, or you buy your first car and then you wreck it, and then you buy another car and you wreck it. You just like continue like upgrading until like you getting to points like, oh, this is a good one. You're gonna stick with it. So I think that with my life, I just have too many interests, too many passions, and being a curiosity person, that I would just constantly trying new stuff. And then one of my gifts is I learn super fast, and I could usually like reinvent myself around 6 to 9 months, like a complete new discipline. And so I did many things. So I starting out as a graphic designer in college, and then come out as a motion graphic designer in a very well-known global design firm, and then becoming a creative director, art director in the design world. Um, and then moved to New York City, and then I want to like shoot pretty girls. Got a divorce, and then I want to shoot pretty girls. So I got into like fashion photography in New York City, and then from then on, I got into live action directing. And then I discovered Burning Man, and throughout Burning Man, I have a whole new soul searching kind of journey. And so, what you talk about the morning thing is actually it's not DJing. It's actually I'm composing music to guide the morning's sun celebration.
Wow.
So with skydivers landing queue on time and all those things, kind of like those woo woo guru at Burning Man. And then I thought that my life is kind of getting to the final form, and life is really well, and living in a really beautiful loft in Dumbo, Brooklyn. Everything is great. And then by 2016, my dad passed away with cancer. He literally, like, I arrived in Toronto around midnight, and then he was like waving his arm to me, and he was super excited. I said, "Oh, he actually looked pretty good." And he's been battling cancer for like about 2 years, and then 2 hours later, he took his very last breath in my arms. So at that moment, something that changed in me, because I just realized that I saw him taking his last breath, and then he saw me taking my very first one. So it's like this cycle, like this little click. For some reason, just change everything, and I question everything, question about everything that what I'm doing. Does it matter? Or maybe even using the pandemic term, is it essential? Like what I'm doing, is it essential to the world? And so I've been, like living this very also glamorous life in New York City, and in and out of backstage of like Fashion Week and direct hair shows for Oribe, and it's just like directing all these fashion films, and then like be a woo guru in Burning Man. It's just all these things that doesn't even matter. So I've gone on to a very deep journey of like grieving and healing. And then from then on, did all the landmark stuff from landmark, and then I just decided to become a life coach. So actually I studied at New York Open Center for 9 months certification, become a life coach. And then right at the graduation, I have no idea exactly how to launch myself, because I does no business training or anything like that. I have zero idea. And then I decided I need a radical change and reinvention. So other than I'm like pivoting my new career, and actually I just turned in my 30-day notice in my loft with zero plan.
Wow.
Burn the ship style. So as I have no plan B. So 30 days I have to figure it out, and then I decided to move to LA. Um, and then like from then on, within 30 days, I sold everything, downsized everything down to my life, down to a 5x5 worth of storage of belongings. I still do. Like after 3 years later, I still have only that much stuff. It was the greatest thing. Um, and yeah, so like the past several years, it's been actually it's a super long journey for this version of Charlie One. Usually it's super fast, but they're taking almost 4 years now, 4.5 years. And then I just about to like relaunch myself just now, like literally. Like my website is not even up yet. So literally maybe in a few days it will be like all launched. It was just a kind of crazily long thing. So this is a very long answer, like with my little background story. So I think it just kind of you moving along with your life, and then like you will hit like kind of different certain point in your life will pivot, right? So my life is like a pivoting, like there's a divorce and I pivot, right? And then there's I lost my father, there's a pivot, And I'm sure to many of you, like this whole like lockdown and pandemic, that's a massive pivot of you like self-questioning, what the hell am I going to do? Fashion week is gone, and then like that's not that many people like booking me to do makeup and all those things. Like, what can I do? So like this is becoming like the becoming my thing. I think like while I'm doing self reinvention is becoming like part of my calling to help other people to self reinvent, systematically self reinvent, because I see a lot of people do personal transformations, personal development, but that's I there's a formula to it. There's a systematic and strategic way. Cannot just go to Tulum, cannot just go to like 10-day silent meditation. And all of a sudden, you will have um, some answers. You might have some like kind of woo-woo clarity for a little while, but you will find yourself that come back to ground zero. And then like several months later, you still have zero idea what the hell am I doing. So I've been spending all these times that other than I have all these massive uh, things that about like personal journey, did all landmark and all those things. I did ayahuasca, psychedelics, Burning Man, anything that you possibly imagine. And then at the end, actually, I come back to my Christian faith, and then I've gone on to online to study under 10 super successful online entrepreneur. They are all like coaches, and then they are ranging from 7 figure to 9 figure like worth. And so I just like, if they figure this out, I need to like see like how these 10 people that what is the secrets and formula.
Mm.
And then I start to discover that they actually have the answer. Crazy enough, like with my few decades of like all this transformation and development, and actually the online entrepreneurs, like they literally had down to the science. So I think like this, like today is something that we can like discover and discuss about.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
It's there have been a number of moments, right? There are these pivot moments,
Mhm.
right, for you. And prior to that, and even during that time, at the Artist Summit 2015, the year before your father passed, and we're all obviously so sorry that you had to deal with that and went through that in your life. Um, Prior to that, at the Artist Summit, you were talking about Charlie 2.0, and then what was Charlie 3.0? You were transitioning from different places and careers based on other factors. Again, divorce, wanting to shoot pretty girls. I mean, what was the driving force, right? Do you feel like the way you got to this place now, which is your wholeness and the place where you feel at this stage, because by your own definition, this might be a next stop, and then there might be something after.
I
You
hope
never
this is
know.
the final form. This is
They're
the final.
like, I can't take anymore. I can't do anymore. So if
I
this is the
cannot do
final
anymore.
form, do you feel that it was by nature of all of the changes that you went through? You couldn't have gotten here without being a producer. You couldn't have gotten here without the divorce. You couldn't have gotten here without your father's passing. You couldn't have gotten here without all the change and that was put upon you, but also change you made yourself, because as you said when you first started out, I had too many passions. I had too many things I wanted to do. Is that process part of is the process of continual reinvention, slight or major, essential in getting you to where you need to be toward the end of that all, figuring it out?
Yes and no. I think it's because I just keep experimenting and try and error. Um, right now, I'm creating my program. I hope that can shortcut for everyone, so that you don't need to spend a few decades into like running in circles and doing all this stuff that is still back to like ground zero. And then I do see like that's strategy behind it.
Mm.
So like it don't have to be. I just kind of super anti woo because I've been through all the woo stuff. I'm so new agey before I come back, become a back to a Christian. And I do all the sound bath and all those things and everything that you name. Like I did all the psychedelics, ayahuasca, everything, and go to Mexico and all those things. Um, and it is interesting for those different points in my life to have certain kind of clarity, but nothing can help me to see that so clearly that, and also I can clone this and replicate this to anyone that I'm going to about to coach. Um, because it's at the end, like what is the biggest gift and lesson that I learned through my father's passing is just as I study a lot of like the last lesson of life. Just reading a lot of people when they before they die, what they talk about. They always talk about very simple stuff. Love your family, do what you love, travel more, and don't burn all the bridges, and hang on to friends, and all those things. And I just realized that life is ridiculous simple after all. So does your purpose. So does like your reinvention of what your life is about. And so I'm like using that as my goal. Is there a simplest way to explain all these like life purpose and calling and all those things to a 8-year-old? And that is where I'm heading to. And then at the end, I just realized that ultimately you just need to know your GPS if it's your car, right? If car is an analogy, you need to know first of all what is your GPS, where are you going, right? So like and then that what is the engine is about, and then the engine is essentially what is your product, what is that thing that is your thing. when I mention, I think about Michael. Michael, the thing is part of the group, right? And for Charlie One, I hope like it's the self reinvention instead of like all the fashion photography and live action direction or creative direction, all those things. Um, so yeah, so like to figure out your purpose, and I think that with a lot of personal development, right now it's infuriate me whenever people would tell people to if you want to find your purpose, just follow your passion. I just want to punch the throat, because that is like the worst thing that ever can tell someone, because this is my path as a creative person and multi-passionate person. I follow my passion many times, many times. I did all these things and many times, and I did it really well too. And I have like met fun in all those things. Um, but that is not what your passion might not have people that care for it. So what you are really loving, what you do, might not have a market for it. So it's like your purpose and profit and prosperity essentially need to kind of like a supply and demand thing. You're looking at this like, what is your purpose? First of all, do you know your purpose? Does this purpose that people are willing to pay for it, right? And so maybe I can like talk about like where all these things started. Like, is there's something called the hero's journey. Have you heard of the hero's journey before?
No, talk about it.
Yeah, so hero's journey is in 1940s. That's a very well-known book called "Hero with a Thousand Faces," written by this guy called Joseph Campbell. So he does a lot of mythology researching. Joseph Campbell. So he analyzed a lot of stories, a lot of mythology, Greek mythology, Bible, and all those things. And then he just discovered all the hero stories is essentially just one story, right? So you're all gone through this phase that you're kind of at a crossroad, and then you're like kind of have this calling you want to change, and then all of a sudden that like there's a fear, and then there's a mentor will show up, and then the mentor will just like, hey, you should go over there to this unknown world, and then you start to like go on this adventure. And then you start to like learning new things, and then you like have new friends, and then have enemies, and then until up to a point that like you hit rock bottom. And then at the rock bottom, and then when you start to embrace the pain, and then you pivot, and then you tap into your superpower. So every superhero story exactly the same. Every movie, like Star Wars, Luke Skywalker, is the same story as Neo in Matrix. When you think about it, go through the same formula journey. Wizard of Oz, Dorothy, same story. Frodo Baggins in Lord of the Rings, same story. You can see who is the mentor to this seemingly ordinary person, and then go on to this adventure to the unknown world. And then like, so this mentor that keep like kind of nudging as I just go over to that directions, and then like so you start to have all these like kind of mini triumph, and a lot of failures, and then you have all these enemies, and you have all these friends. So what I realize is we all gone through hero journey, whether it's our whole lifetime or every single day. Making a cup of coffee is part of the mini hero journey, right? What kind of like breakfast I should get is like a mini struggle hero journey, and then I choose that like breakfast, and then becoming the triumph. Um and then so like with that, I extracted a formula called the 7P entrepreneur journey, so that like, this can be easily like explained to people that as an entrepreneur or someone that wants to create an impact in your life, this is you follow this 7P.
I want to get into that. And before we do, I want to ask you a question, because I think that, we talk about passion, right? And you started off, I have too many passions. you know this industry, you know the creative industry, you know the makeup artist industry, the stylists, models, actors, right?
Yeah.
They are living within a passion, right? They're living within a passion. So I don't think what you're saying is having a passion is bad. I think that's counterintuitive, right? I think it's more, I'm asking the question, I'm not telling you what you're saying. Is it more about accepting and understanding when that might not be your path? It might not be the answer. It might not be something that provides what you need from it. Having that passion, Charlie, we have a program called Evolution. And I always say to artists that I am interviewing for that program, I can't tell you what will happen at Evolution, but I tell you something will. Maybe by 5 days, you will say, I don't want to do makeup anymore. Maybe after 5 days, you'll want to become a personal coach and
Mm.
follow Charlie's footsteps. Maybe you'll want to become a photographer because you were so inspired by this place. I can't tell you what will happen, but having a passion is important. And people who feel and know and own passion, it's an important thing to do. But acknowledging and accepting when it's time for reinvention can be a challenge. That can be a point where we all have something. And so many people within the powder grip community move on and go on to other things other than a makeup artistry. And it always gives me so much joy to see that. Going from makeup artist to healer, from makeup artist to photographer, finding a path and a journey. And I think that's an important part of this idea of self-reinvention. I love the 7Ps and I want to get to it, but I want to ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a right and a wrong way to look at why maybe you need to redirect? Because what I said before to you was maybe this is your final stop. Maybe it's not. Maybe you're going to reinvent after this. And you said, no, no, no. So is there a right time and energy and something you feel that says to you, this might be an exceptional time for some self-reinvention?
I think any time is good for like self reinvention. But I think like self reinvention always there's a reason for it. It's just not out of nowhere. Just like, oh, I'm going to reinvent myself. So usually that's something that trigger you, that you start to question about what you've been doing. Maybe something is not working and you're at the crossroad. Like the hero's journey, like the starting point is always at the crossroad.
Mm.
So you have this kind of self-doubt. It's like, what's next? Where am I heading? And that's the crossroad, right?
So,
And
so
like,
maybe there's a life trauma or a life moment. Maybe it's a pandemic. Maybe it is something where there's a moment where you think to yourself, this isn't enough anymore. This isn't enough anymore. And in that case, redirection may seem easier said than done. And coaching and all the things you're talking about, and I can't wait we don't have a ton of time, so I want to get right to the 7Ps for you to take us through that. But um, you know, I guess there's the other question, the opposite side of that is there a wrong time? Is there something, said to sticking to something and holding on to it and not saying, well, that was kind of hard. I think about, everyone says millennials or like Gen Z, Gen this, they want immediacy. They want things to be great fast. They want to make money now. They want to have 1,000 likes on their social media. Is there a time when you say you have to hold on and have patience and continue on your path and not redirect or reinvent just because it is harder than you want it to be, or because you're not as successful as quickly as you want to be?
yeah, so your hero's journey is actually, it's not linear. It's actually going back and forth a
Okay.
lot. A lot. I think that actually during the artist summit, I mentioned that about those mountaineer, they need to go up to Mount Everest. And actually, there's a base camp, and then the camp 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the
Mhm.
summit. So they have to spend many weeks and weeks and to adjust the blood to the oxygen, acclimatization. So they have to actually start to hiking like camp 1 to 2 and then come back to camp 1 and go to like 2 and then go to 3, and then it's kind of going this zigzag thing, and then until up to a point that like at camp 4, and then they decide today is the day that we're going for the summit, and then you'll rise up to the summit. And then even when you go up to the summit, You know, even I asked you, when does it consider success of conquering Mount Everest? You know, is a lot of people say, oh, reach the summit. No, like to complete conquering the Mount summit is reaching the base camp.
Mm.
So your journey is not just about like going up to the mountaintop. So the ascent is important, the descent is part of the journey. So it's
That's
extremely
amazing.
important to think about that. That's why a lot of people die on the descent. There's a lot of mountaineer, like they just die because like they don't pay attention. It's like this is like, oh, I'm just like going back to the base camp, but you just only did half of the expedition,
That's
right?
amazing.
So in our journey, is like exactly the same thing. You will, that is no right time, wrong time, because like it's an ongoing journey. Like, and you will encounter new friends, new enemies, and kind of you pivot your purpose. You know, your purpose will continue to change, right? Just like when I decided to move from New York to LA, and then like I decided to go to LA, I punch in a address and the GPS, like driving. But at a certain point, it's like, oh, I'm in Arizona. Let's go to like Grand Canyon. And I just punched another address. So you can pivot. You know that where's the ultimate address that you're going to go. That is the most important thing. But once you know about your ultimate like GPS address, and then you can punch random stuff. And it will take you like on detour, but ultimately you know that it's going to take you back into your final destination,
I
right?
love a detour,
So
Charlie. I love a
yeah.
detour. I love a detour. I want to make sure we get to your seven P's, and I want to also
Yeah.
make sure that everyone knows. Now you're doing personal coaching, and I know the seven P's are a part of that and what you do with that program.
Mhm.
So don't give too much away, because I want people who want to understand more about what you do to go to your social, and when your website is up, let me know, and I'll share that with our community. I
Oh,
know
it's
it's
okay.
almost there. It's almost there. But can you share with us this idea of the seven P's and what that process looks like?
Yeah, I'll teach you guys everything. So maybe let me see if I can like show my screen. Can you see the graphics?
Yes.
Yeah, so there are seven P's. This is what I excuse me. So this is the 7P that you should write that down, like because this is I tested so many times with so many people, and then like kind of verify with so many things, and I recognize that this is a very good formula. So it's pain, power, people, purpose, passion, product, profit. So what does that mean is that you always start your journey with the pain. This is like so not American. Right? American like to like when you have pain, just pop a pill and just like not feeling anything. And but I don't know. Have you heard of this saying called pain to power?
Mhm.
Pain to power. So just like you go to the gym, right? Like when is your muscle truly built? Is right at the last few reps when you do the press, right? Like when you feel the pain, and then that is the power. Like start to building the muscles, right? So look at all the superhero story. Every single one of them, they didn't ask for the pain, right? But they're all kind of somehow something happened to them, and then they try to denial that pain, denial that trauma. And then at the end, they start to embrace it. Once they embrace every single one of them, like become like tap into the superpower. Like we are not that different. Of course, when I use the word pain, like kind of like a heavy word, but like with me, it's very traumatic, right? Because I see my father like took his last breath. But it could be like pain and trauma to pain in the ass, like something that just a very little thing, you know. Remember, like you go to like Starbucks, like with the paper cup, like when you receive your coffee, what is the next thing you grab? You grab that little paper sleeve to slide it on, right? So that you will not burn your hands. That paper sleeve is invented by a father accidentally spilled coffee to a little daughter. So different level of pain.
Mhm.
Looking at all the products, right? Everything is like solving a pain, right? So like is what is the pain that you have overcome in life? It might not be like have nothing to do with makeup. When you list out what are the pains that you have overcome in life, and that is your superpower. It could be many things. List it out today. List out as many things as possible. With and it could be something that you did it when you're a teenager, or something that you did 2 weeks ago, or something that you figure out in kitchen, or something that you figure out while like you have no longer like working in fashion week, but like you figure out how to make money. There's so many different pain that you have overcome, and then you figure out that's a solution that I've overcome. So with me, it's about this whole self-reinvention thing, right? And I try to like figure out a formula, a pattern, and method to it, like make sense to it, make it scientific and systematic and strategic. So once you recognize your superpower, and then you were looking at the third P, which is people. Who are the people that you could serve? Who are the people that you can help? Who are the people that you think that they need this? It's very common that you might not think a big deal out of your superpower because you're so used to it. You just feel like, oh yeah, like yeah, that's easy. I can do that. Or I can easily like do like the set up the computer stuff. Like, but to you it's maybe a major pain point how to set up a computer, right? To me, it's a piece of cake, right? So like, there's a lot of your superpower you might just easily just brush it off. So I really want you to write that out as many things that you know that very well, that you overcome certain kind of pain points in your life,
Mm.
certain obstacles, certain challenges, you know, and then like figure out who are the people they can serve. And then from then on, you recognize what is your purpose. So my purpose is to help people that has been following the passion all along, to help them to dial in, super laser dial in the purposes. No more woo-woo stuff. Literally like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is how you like kind of find your purpose. Right. So once you know that what is your purpose, now you can bring your passion in. That is the creativity.
Mm.
That like you have your underlying message. What is your message? What is the things that you could help people, right? And then you start to bring your passion and then create something, right? And then so this passion, like this is one of the problem why I had before, I'm speaking on myself, for myself, is I've been following passion. And then like, so when we do our work, is essentially we're selling our passion, right? But the most important things is I don't want you to selling passion anymore. Are you selling a solution? Are you selling a solution for the people? And then even to the level 2, are you selling transformation to these people? Once you sell transformation, when you look at everything that you do, is you selling transformation, people will pay crazy money because you're solving a problem that they urgently need to get help, right? So once you have your purpose, and then you bring your passion, and then you create your product, right? Looking at all the makeup, every single makeup product is a purpose and plus passion, and come up with a solution. Does it make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And I
Right?
think,
Like so the every single product is every single entrepreneur out in the world, every single product that you can encounter, literally look at everything that like will open your eyes is solving one problem, one specific problem. But we as passionate people, we don't look at at us as like we are actually just one product that is solving one single ginormous problem, or maybe some pain in the ass problem, right?
It's such a, and
And
I love that I love that the revert thing here at the end, that last P is profit, right? It's like this,
Mhm.
so this formula that you have here, this 7P formula, in
Yeah,
some ways, it sort of is counterintuitive to people, right?
mhm.
Who are passionate,
It's
but
counterintuitive for the creative people, but it's
yeah,
not
yeah.
counterintuitive
So
in the
I
entrepreneur.
think, when and I do a lot of coaching for career coaching and artist development and work with brands on things. And one of the things that I always ask is why. So when they say I want to have my own line, I say why? How will that be different? To your words, how will that serve a purpose? How will that serve something that's not being met already? Maybe having that brand will meet a need, which is, I know it's just going to be a basic line of a few lipsticks, but I need this. The purpose is to make some money on the clients I work with, and that will bring revenue. Maybe that's the purpose, right? It's not that it's different, but it does serve a purpose. I think you can, if for my artists out there who are saying, but my passion is this, and I don't quite know where my pain is, and I don't quite know what my power is, I challenge you to think about this in whatever, and this isn't with Charlie's permission, so I apologize, but if you have to start with your passion and kind of work your way around it for the first time, try that. If you're having a hard time finding what that moment is, that was the pain, that moment that, but I think that, to Charlie's point, starting with these things, this is about redefinition of who you are, right? It's about redirection in some ways. It's about reinvention in some ways. It's about refocusing in some ways. So this idea of reinvention, self reinvention through this process. Having talked to you about it the other day, I started going through the process myself, Charlie. And I will tell you, the reason I gave that advice just now is because I had a real hard time following it in this order. But it
Yeah.
got easier for me in this idea, right? This idea of I have to follow this formula. This is Charlie's formula. I've got to follow this formula. It works. And if you get into the thought process with whatever door you have to open, whatever way you have to get into the thought process, that's my advice, not Charlie's. My advice is get into this thought process in whatever way you need to, then evolve yourself to the point where you're going back and saying, okay, now I know what this was doing. I know how it's working for me. And now I'm going to go back again. Is this a process? I'm assuming it is, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. Is this a process that one can follow many times? Can you do this over and over again to find your next direction?
Yes, your whole life.
Amazing.
I promise you. Yeah,
Amazing.
I study under so many like entrepreneurs. I literally can fit like every single their coachings and stuff like that, how they make like $100 million, how they make $10 million, how they make like $4 million as like a housewife with 3 kids, and it works every single one of them.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
so I
Well,
think at the end is like once you create a product, also you have to have the science as an entrepreneur as well. Like do people buy this? How exactly you can sell this and then sell it in a mass quantity? Scale your business as well. It's very important. You learn the art of selling because people who pay attention.
oh,
Remember that this is
That's
extremely
that's a good one.
important.
People who pay attention. Look, Charlie, we're out of time, and I could listen to you all day.
Yeah.
But before we wrap, I want to make sure you have a great program and you've got your social media. How can people find you? How can they connect with you outside of this session?
You can go to my Instagram for now. I barely post anything. I am Charlie Wan. And then my website will be launched in a few days as charliewan.com. And then my programs also will be launched very, very soon after that. Yeah.
Amazing.
So thank
My
you for
friend,
having me.
thank you for being with us. Thank you
Oh, thank you. Thank you
for
for having me.
sharing so openly with us. And I can't wait to do more together. You're a wonderful human being and you're an amazing friend. And I'm grateful that you were here. Everybody, this has been the Powder Group Conversations with Charlie Wan on self-reinvention. I want to thank our sponsors, Omnia, Beekman 1802, Cinema Secrets, Muse Beauty Pro, Senna Cosmetics, and Scandinavia. Until next week, see you guys. Thank you, Charlie.
Bye.
Bye, my love. Thank you. Thank
Bye.
you, everybody, for being here.